this would have been welcomed. But there is no conflict in this country. This is a normal political process. If we cannot negotiate that internally as a sovereign nation, after 60 years of independence, with capable individuals at all levels of Gambian society, then we have a serious matter on our hands. Yes, I think the process should continue. There should be negotiations. The political leadership in the country should be talking. But I'm not sure that the coming of Mr. Chambers under international idea or under any other auspices really is not something that commends itself tremendously to me, speaking as an individual. That is my take on that introduction.
Mar, you have heard from even Chambers, even though he didn't go into details as to the outcomes of the meeting and what was being said by both parties. But do you think this will change anything?
I think it will have some impact because based on the news that we have read on different media outlets, we learned that he was able to bring His Excellency Adama Barrow and Honorable Ousainou Darboe together to sit and discuss, build consensus for there to be constitutional reform. I don't know what the outcome of the meeting was. It was not reported by the same media outlets what the outcome of the meeting was. But I think that in itself is progressive because that's what happened a long time ago. Okay. The success of constitutional reform in this country at this moment we're in depends on Honorable Ousainou Darboe and His Excellency Adama Barrow. If both of them are able to work together, we all know their political representative or parliamentarians that are in parliament will take the position of their party. So if they're able to negotiate, we will have constitutional reform. And let's not forget that about 30 years ago, that's what South Africa did. They have what they call multi-party negotiating process. And after the apartheid regime, and they decided to sit down and agree on 34 principles. And they said any constitution that South Africa is going to build must be within the scope of these 34 principles. And these 34 principles, through this multi-party negotiating process, was it comprises of political parties, civil society, and in fact, both the Mandela regime and some of the apartheid representative in it. So constitutional building must be negotiated. It is a political process, as he rightly mentioned, right? So the unfortunate thing is to not be a political process. It should be a citizen process. But in this day and age that we're in, it will be difficult for any government to give the citizens the constitution that they really deserve. A constitution that is written through the voices of the people and endorsed. If that was the case, then it would not have gone through the National Assembly process. It would have been the citizens, the CRC do their consultation, right? Then the CRC will give the draft back to the citizens, and the citizens will give their feedback, and then it goes back to the citizen again for referendum, right? But we have taken a more political process that has to go through the parliament, and parliament is about numbers. And you cannot just take politics out of the equation, because even if it is the citizens that are going to decide without it going through the parliament, it will have the political parties that have strongholds in these communities to influence the people to vote yes or no to that constitution.
And Senior Counsel, I mean, the second reading is on the 27th of March. We have seen the agenda from the parliament. Do you think this is going to change anything from now until the 27th? Second reading, they need 42 members to say yes, which is three-thirds of the parliament. Do you think this will change anything?
Well, it's 43 members, really, because I don't know that the process, as it's been led by Chambers is going to yield anything. I'll be very surprised. I think the positions are pretty entrenched, yes. Pretty entrenched because, yes, the political leaders did say that any change at all in the 2020 draft would mean that no other document would be accepted. To be specific, the 2024 will not be accepted. So that is the position on the table. Are the numbers there? UDP alone would have had the numbers, but for the fact that it lost a National Assembly member in Combo East. Yes. Otherwise, it would have 16 members. It has 15, but then it has an independent candidate also. Yeah. That is Honorable Kante for Busumbala. Yeah. So it has 15. Now the problem is, how do you negotiate?
And even the not alliance
yes,
as well,
exactly.
almost 5 of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It would mean a lot of work on the side of the president, but I don't know, even if he works 24 hours a day, would he be able to convince the other members of the National Assembly to come on board?
It's about the timing for me. Why now?
Well, actually, we need a constitutional process. So it was started by the institution of the Constitutional Review Commission. We know what happened. So the government then initiated a process that some said was based on consultation, others said was not based on consultation. Mr. Marnyang here would know better because he's in the heart of the civil society movement. So I don't know whether he was consulted or not, whether other civil society stakeholders were consulted or not, whether even the political parties, because even that issue is not settled. So I don't know whether they were consulted or not. But the government did say there was consultation.
And Mar, I mean, like he really mentioned, I mean, your organization, in this case, Gambia Participants, has been leading organizing consultation among stakeholders just to reach a consensus. Are you surprised that still you are consulting? We cannot still reach a consensus on this constitution.
I'm not
organized
surprised.
Series of consultations under your organization.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that we are going through this because the error was from the beginning. The process of bringing the 2024 draft, I think it was established that civil society, Tango, and my organizer, we were all not consulted, right? And
so you disagree with Chamber when he said there was that high-level consultation?
I mean, so high level is subjective, right? Okay. I'm just talking about the responding to what the Minister of Justice said, that there was consultation and civil society organizers were consulted. The civil society organizers that were consulted, I don't know about those, right? And here we know, you know, the ones that are engaging on constitutional reform. So we are not consulted. Tango also came out with a release that they were not consulted in the process, meaningful consultation for that matter. So from the beginning, it is established that that was an error, right? The consultation that should have happened, we didn't see that being undertaken by the government. However, as a forward-looking organization, we don't look at what happened in the past and then totally distance ourselves from it, because we are looking at the interests of the country. The foundation for a democratic and progressive society in this country is to have a meaningful as well as a strong public law system. We all agree that the 1997 Constitution is no more fit for purpose due to some of the amendments that have been done to entrench power or monopolize power within the executive. So now, we agree that happened. We disagree that it should not have happened. And what is the way forward? That's when we started doing our engagement. We engaged different political parties since 2 years ago, right? Even before this conversation on the 2024 draft started, we started engaging different political parties. We had mediators that were engaging key constitutional stakeholders. So going back to whether it is going to be passed, Council started talking about the numbers. We are all not sure whether it's going to be passed or not. For me, it should be about the consensus that I talked about in the beginning. Without which, it will be difficult to pass. Now, the NPP, APRC, and NRP have a total of 29 members, right? The PDOIS have 2, and PDOIS mentioned that they're going to support this through amending the 2024. So that will be about 31 parliamentarians. Now, you also have the minus, I don't know whether it's 1 or 2 from UDP.
Yes,
Yes, UDP currently
Yeah,
Combo
has
is.
Combo is,
15.
yeah. So that also left. And then you also have some independent candidates that are also going to be pro the constitution to be passed through amendment. So how much are they going to be? We don't know. We know though, in Fonyi, the five
MPs.
Independent candidates or MPs that are in Fonyi, we know most of them will not pass. But with what is happening with Honorable Bakari and the statement that was made by the president, firing, the former president, Jammeh, firing him from the
that has nothing to do with his conscience as a National Assembly member.
But it has a huge impact being a member of the No Alliance, now being fired from the No Alliance. It has both political and personal effects.
Yeah, but they can still reconcile. He can still change his mind and say, I'm not running for presidency again.
That's all possible. So we are not ruling out anything,
Okay.
right? So let's say, give or take, we have about 34 to 35.
Okay. But
parliamentarians.
that's still below
That's
below
still
the
not
number.
enough.
Yeah.
But I maybe council can help here. I think it says 2/3, right, of the members present. So only 57 have voting rights. So it also means that if there are certain members that are not present, right, will it still mean that they have to be 43? You know your parliamentarians more than
I don't foresee any MP being absent on that day.
Well, in
Very
2020,
yeah.
I believe there were some that were not present.
Yeah, because those people were sitting on the fence. They didn't want to be, seen as belonging to any
Still, it
side
has
of
an
the-
impact in the process.
Yeah.
So whether they are in country or outside jurisdiction, the numbers that are present, I believe that is what is going to be considered, council.
Yes, and council, coming back to that issue, the numbers count, but equally compromise. You mentioned about the issue of compromise. This is more about compromising now, because the UDP has taken its stance. The NPP is on the other side. We know the issue of amendments to the 2020 draft constitution, the issue of leadership and integrity, the issue of the 2-term limit, the issue of so many of them out there. Where do you think these two parties should compromise? Who should give in what?
Well, I don't know what the demands are. Whether UDP is open to serious negotiation, because the party leader said even if a word is changed, then UDP will not support anything. So even if a word of the 2020 draft is changed, so that has happened. Yes. Is there
Was
room?
that right in your own observation, in your own analysis?
Well, I believe
Was it legal, the executive to just change the draft?
the 2020 draft. No, I believe what happened was, like Mr. Nyan said, from the onset, you create this problem. Yes. We know the discord that was created around the rejection of the 2020 draft. So under those circumstances, if you are going to do anything, you know, you are not losing any face by consulting the requisite partners in the process. But, you know, that consultation did not happen. The government knew that it does not have the numbers to pass this unilaterally in the National Assembly. That is not a possibility. You need consensus. You have to build consensus around the whole project of a new constitution. Should you have worked on amending the 2020 instead of bringing a whole new 2024? Would other partners felt that they were slighted in the process? So if that was the case, you know, sometimes little things can have huge significance, you know, in the lives of nations, in personal relationships and other things. So consultation would have been the key initial prerequisite in this matter. You need to consult. But like Mr. Nyan said, that is now behind us. Yes. If we believe 1997 is not good, even that is subject to debate. It didn't balance power properly because the constitutional process is a tripartite power sharing. The National Assembly, the presidency, and the judiciary. And of course, the fundamental rights. You know, the universal principles around those rights are also very significant. Yes. But is power properly balanced by the 1997 Constitution? It was not. Some of the amendments happened, but it is still not properly balanced.
But when you look at some of the provisions, I mean, there are good provisions in the 2024 draft Constitution. The 50+1, I mean, the term limit. But the issue of removing a whole chapter, chapter 5, on integrity and leadership. Many say, I mean, why would you reduce such a chapter in our Constitution? Which clearly stipulates that if you are serving as a president and after leaving office, you are found wanting by a commission of inquiry into alleged corruption or that, you now stand to lose all the benefits that comes with being a former president. A whole chapter like that was removed.
Well,
I have interviewed you before, and you agree that it has no place in a constitution.
No, it has no place in the Constitution.
Why?
Because normal processes of accountability would have taken care of the problems. You know, a Constitution is a very critical document. Yes. In that leadership and integrity, I mean, if you go through it, all of it, because people believe, the reason why people, some of the people felt affronted by that removal was because they believe, you know, if it remains in the Constitution, then it would check corruption and abuse of public office. But that is not the case at all. That is not the case. I believe it would be an instrument for witch hunting.
Witch hunting on who?
Witch hunting on because of the subjectivity that was built into that system. You know, you can ignore me and go after Mr. Nyang when both of us have problems with corruption. Yes. So it built subjectivity into it. But in any case, strong public governance would have taken care of some of the, all of the provisions in that section. So it's not a constitutional provision. It shouldn't be in the Constitution. It can be in other legislation as long as there is a strong central system to control the governance procedures in the country. Then obviously, you know, people who are engaged in corruption or other things that the chapter presumably is trying to address would be held accountable, and they can be held accountable by legislation subsidiary to the Constitution. But to make it, that chapter, a constitutional provision, is something that I couldn't fathom. In fact, I wrote about it in 2020. I said it should be removed. It's not a constitutional provision. It was lifted from the Kenyan constitution and brought into the Gambian constitution.
So if you're saying it's not a constitutional, it shouldn't be in the constitution, then why will Kenya have it in their own constitution then?
Well, I don't know. These constitutions are very bulky.
Are you saying they also made a mistake by having it in their constitution?
Well, I don't know.
Yes, because we need to know. If you're saying, it's lifted from Kenya and
Yes.
now, put in our constitution, then one will ask them, why will Kenya maintain in their constitution?
Well, we have to ask the Kenyans. But my understanding of what a constitution is supposed to be, a skeleton. A constitution is supposed to be a skeleton of the principles, the values that a country wants to protect. Now you have the courts to do the interpretation. Why do you want to do the interpretation for the courts in a constitutional document? Yes, are you not taking away their functions from them? You create the skeleton and allow the different arms of government to build around that skeleton, to interpret it in conformity with fairness, principles of justice, and good governance. That is what the courts do. That is what they contribute to the public life of any country.
And Mar, with all what has happened, where do you think there should be a compromise? Who should give in what?
Who should give in what?
Yeah. It's more about compromise now.
I think there should be a compromise that should not overshadow the interests of citizens, as in what the citizens want to see in the constitution. But yes, there has to be compromise in the retroactivity of the 2 term limits, and there also should be. I think that is the deal breaker for me. The Chapter 5 on leadership and integrity, even though in our recommendation we encourage it to be reinstated, but I don't think that should be a deal breaker, right? Because if you look at the values or what it tries to regulate, especially for public officials, every single public official that will be enrolled to the government, there are requirements, right? There are code of conduct. We also have the general orders, which are all subsidiary legislation that governs the conduct of public officers. If you look at the 1997 Constitution, if I'm quoting the right section, Section 222 talks about the code of conduct. But one key thing that was removed there was, and it was in the 1997 Constitution, was the receipt of gift, right? If you receive gift, that gift is presumed to be the asset of the state, right? It was removed. It was in the Chapter 5, and it was removed. However, whether it is there or not, as far as you have strong institutions, public officials cannot escape accountability of economic crimes or corruption, because these are already governed in the Criminal Code. It is in the Anti-Money Laundering Terrorist Financing Act. It is in the Anti-Corruption Act of 2023. So whether it is in that constitution or not, whatever economic crimes that they have conducted, and if it is established with substantial evidence that they are guilty, they could be prosecuted through those subsidiary legislation. So for me, it's good to have it there, but it's not a deal breaker. The deal breaker for me is the retroactivity. For me, I believe it is let the citizens decide whether they want President Barrow to serve that term or not through the ballots. But whosoever is going to be elected in 2026, there should be a constitution that will consider that term. In the absence of that, we might have infinite term in our country, and I don't think that is good for democracy. I just came from Abuja this evening, and this is what we were discussing. And all eyes are on Gambia. We discussed about Ivory Coast, and I did mention this in my panel. 2010 was just like yesterday for me. We saw over 2,000 bodies on the streets fighting for Ouattara to be in office.
Ouattara and Gbagbo.
Now Ouattara is seeking for a 4th term. Remember, today is when Sissoho Embalo term expired.
I don't know whether he's back because he was in Russia just yesterday or day before yesterday.
Photo opportunity.
Yeah.
But his term expired today while he is shaking hands with Putin out there, and there is no election happening, and this is going to be dragged up until November. We saw what happened in Senegal. We don't want that to repeat in Guinea-Bissau. We saw what happened in Guinea.
Especially a country that has not been that much stable. Bissau has not been stable.
Yeah, Guinea-Conakry also the same thing, and then they were toppled. So, and then they have established this AES, right? 3 states, which obviously many countries, if they lose confidence on ECOWAS, we might see the surge of coup d'etats within the sub-region. So, we don't want that to happen in the Gambia. And the most important thing that should be done right now to prevent those is to have strong public law system, strong institutions. And this 2024 draft can give that. For me, and I'm going to say it as it is, right? The 2020, no one disputes that it wasn't a good constitution. It was a very good constitution, right? Whether it was going to be accepted by the public, it wasn't. The Supreme Islamic Council did not accept that constitution, did they?
Yeah,
the Christian Council did not accept that constitution. They all went out saying we should reject this because of certain issues that are very sensitive, and they have more numbers than the politicians. Our people listen to our faith leaders than that of politicians. So if we always see them out of the political discourse, governance discourse, and they, all of a sudden came in and said, we are not going to accept this, the issue of marriage wasn't clear. So it is not going to be fair to say the whole population accept that. There is no constitution that will be developed which will be accepted by the general population.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen, right? What is important, as Council said, the fundamental principles are there, the legal foundations are there to establish strong institutions, right? And I'm not a lawyer, I'm a student of the law, but he explained something that is very important, and we can learn this from democratic, progressive nations like that of the UK, right? They don't have like a constitution that is written like ours, which says 1997 constitution, or constitution that is codified actually. They don't have a codified constitution. They have their constitutions in different other ways, and then it is their law courts, the case laws that they also use as a law, and then also legislations that are made from the parliament. So I think these subsidiary legislations could help in expanding some of the key principles that the constitutions highlights. And the courts are always reviewing these laws. Certain laws, if they are incompatible, not only with the constitution, but if they are no more reasonable, the courts could make those interpretations and say this is no more reasonable, right? So I think the most important thing and what should be done right now is for the political big heads, the UDP and NPP, to sit down and just do what South Africa did.
Isn't that too late, Mar? Isn't that too late?
Like I said,
the second reading is on the 27th.
It's not late. We're trying to rectify a big error from the onset. If I was a major political stakeholder having the numbers at the National Assembly, I'm not going to look at what the executive did, that they did not consult us, right? I will sit and then reflect on where we've come from. The current existing laws, which are not progressive, right? I will be the one that will lobby and then go engage the ruling party. Look, this is what you have done. It's not right. We all have the interest to usher this country to a new and progressive public health system. Here is what we could do. You start that conversation. I think that could fix the mess.
But
that will
have
show
you seen
political
that here
maturity.
where the opposition, could have just engaged the ruling party and said, we need to discuss on this?
Well, there are
Who's not taking the initiative?
There is one constitution, And we have two drafts.
Okay.
1997 is the governing constitution, the governing document. Draft 2020, draft 2024. Now, the National Assembly has the capacity and it has the legal mandate, to amend.
Okay.
Yes. So what do you amend? Which one do you amend? Do you amend the 2024, which is now on the table? Yes. Gambia Participate says support it with amendments.
But if you look at the amendments,
Yes.
that's just simple majority. If they're amending the sections of the Constitution.
No, what we are talking about is amending. That is a negotiation process
Okay.
towards the second and third reading. Yes. So the parties would have to engage with each other and amend the document. Maybe you can import some of the provisions of 2020 into 2024 and cut out some of the provisions of 2024 if there are provisions that did not have the support and they cannot really, it doesn't matter whether they are there or not. You can still have a constitution. So a lot can be done. Yeah, and time
But do you think the National Assembly members are that independent to take their own decision?
well,
They all come from political parties. Of course, certainly someone is behind pulling the strings, telling them what to do and not to do.
well, I understand that. I understand life is full of those kind of agonizing situations. But as a National Assembly member, you are always talking about your love for the Gambia. Gambia first. If it is Gambia first, then you should be willing to vote your conscience. This is a momentous occasion. You should not allow yourself to be controlled by your parties, especially if their positions are unreasonable. Yeah. So
Especially when we are trying to come with a constitution that will be here
Yeah.
for posterity.
there is life outside the National Assembly. Vote for what is right. If you are deselected, you are deselected. If you are voted out, you are voted out. Life goes on, you go and do something else. Yeah.
So Mar, in your case, are you saying the parliament should pass this draft and then let the public decide? Let Gambians decide whether
Not
they
to
will accept
pass
it
it as it is.
on? Okay.
One of the three core responsibility of a parliamentarian is lawmaking.
Oversight functions, representation.
If a bill is brought before them, like what they have done with all the other previous bills that we have brought before them, they must review and make good out of what is bad. Because all of these bills either come from the executive or from them, a private member's bill. Now, a bill, which is the constitutional amendment bill, is being brought before them. Here are certain provisions that are not good. Engage the citizens. And some of these parliamentarians are saying the executive did not do consultation. And I'm telling them, if the executive did not do consultation, you have more legitimacy now to do consultation than that of the executive, because you represent the people directly. You have your constituency. Take the document to your constituency.
Maybe they have done that,
Not all,
but maybe
and
some
you know,
have done that.
Here is the thing. Doing it as an activity and looking at the substance of doing it are different. You can go to the community and they said, this is what the executive have proposed. They are now saying the president can appoint a parliamentarian and also remove a parliamentarian that they have appointed. But they are not telling the citizens what could be done to fix that. So if you give them half information, the citizens that are not technocrats, especially the ones that are not well informed in a democratic process, they will say, oh no, reject it. So I think there should be fairness in the way this information are being communicated. Now, going back to their responsibility as lawmaking, the second most important document of this country is the budget, which also funds the constitutional provisions. That budget, right, there are consultations, but we scored 33 out of 100 in our budget consultation, public participation. However, when it's brought before Parliament, Parliament always amend it and then pass it. If they don't pass it, there's going to be an issue with them and then also the country as well. But they pass it. The former president's bill came in, they amend, they pass it. The anti-corruption bill came, they amend and they pass it. Procurement bill, they amend and pass it. This is the parent of all of those legislations. If it is brought before you, do not run away from your primary responsibility as a lawmaker. Most of them are saying it is dead upon arrival.
Yeah.
Which means you are running away from doing what you ought to do. Receive it and look at it.
Yes.
And amend. Simple as that. So this issue of politics, we have to put it aside and do your job. You just have to do your job. If you don't have those numbers, and some of them that are engaged say, oh, the NPP are the one that have the majority. If in the consideration stage, the amendments that are being done, right, we see the constitution that we deserve, if it goes to referendum, it will be passed. Otherwise, I myself will not campaign for a constitution that is better than the 1997 constitution. So just give a chance and do the amendments. If you have done that for other legislations, why not the 2024 draft? 2020, you guys kick it out without looking at it. Or give it a try to do the amendments.
Well, it was rejected by the NPP and their allies.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I think the opposition should show more of a political maturity. This is the opportunity to show political maturity than that of the NPP.
Council, do you agree? That it shouldn't be like I said, ping-pong game, that you rejected 2020, we are also rejecting 2024.
Well, look, how do you reject something that you didn't even read? In fact, I was going to suggest to you that you call the political leaders here and see how many of them even read the document. Yes, do that. Because these are the people who said they want to rule the country. Did they even read the draft 2020 or the draft 2024? I doubt it. Yeah, you cannot just pick a few things here and there and say, okay, I'm rejecting the whole document. Yeah.
So are you supporting the passing of the draft constitution for referendum?
With amendments.
With amendments.
Yes, definitely.
Where will you suggest them to amend? Which
well, several areas. I mean, those areas would have to, when it comes to that, we will of course engage with the process. We'll do write-ups and we'll send it to the committees in the National Assembly and things like that to say, look at this, maybe this should be amended. And we can also advise about the 2020 draft, and some of the good points there. But even if you come to something like term limits, the 2020 and the 2024 have no difference. Some people are saying retroactivity, but if you look at the implementation, how does it come into effect? You go to the back of it, that constitution takes effect only after it passed the National Assembly and a referendum. How do you then apply that to a sitting president? Yes, a document that itself says this comes into effect a day after the referendum. How do you apply that and say the president must not run? Yeah, I don't know, but...
Yes, I know we're running out of time. Mark, like I said earlier on, I mean, you've been very much engaged in facilitating, discussions around this constitution. What are you going to do now, from now against 27, in terms of further engaging stakeholders?
Well, we have already prepared a 91-page document.
You've exhausted all your activities?
No, we have not exhausted. We are planning to do one again with parliamentarians.
Okay.
We've also published a 91-page document which provides recommendations on all the amendments that have been done in the 2024 draft, which we believe, if it's taken into consideration, right, we will have a better constitution, better than the 2020 and the 2024 as it is right now. So what we are planning to do is to engage parliamentarians and present these changes that are made between the 2020 and the 2024 and what could be done to fix it, right? that is what we are planning to do. Hopefully, during this month of Ramadan that is coming, we can achieve that. That is if the constitution is going to be still debated on the 27th. But meanwhile, as well, we're engaging the citizens, we're engaging parliamentarians individually, we're calling and then asking them to give this constitution a chance. And I think now is the time that the parliamentarians show us that they are independent, that they can make independent decisions different from the position that is taken by their political parties.
But, I mean, they are in parliament because of politics. It's a political position.
No, what I'm saying here is, it is not your party that voted you. They sponsored you to run through their party. The people voted you, right? And in terms of representation, you do not represent the interests of your party alone. And this is beyond political parties. This is about the people. So parliamentarians, it is high time, I want to see that, to take a position that is different from their political party. I haven't seen that in the 2020. I've not seen that in the FGM bill. I'm not seeing that in the 2024 draft. I want to see that someone else will be bold enough to say, I am not going to agree with my party because of this is what is good for the country. I want that to happen.
Until I see that happen. Council, in just 1 minute, what will be your advice to the parliamentarians ahead of the day?
Like Mr. Nyang here, I remember reading The Point of Departure. Point of Departure was a book written by Robin Cook. Robin Cook was a member of the Blair cabinet at the time of the invasion of Iraq. So, you know, when the vote was about to be taken at Westminster, he came out and said, like Mr. Young is recommending, that I cannot go with this. Remember the prestige of being a member of the British cabinet. Yes, he had to resign. It was, I was in the UK at the time, and it was quite a moment. It was quite a moment, yes. If you believe in yourself as a National Assembly member, and you believe what is happening, it's not compellingly something that you, your conscience dictates that you should follow, then you should do what you want to do, and damn the consequences. It doesn't matter.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Senior Counsel Lamin Jeda. It was good to have you on the program. And Mar Nyang, Executive Director of Gambia Participates. Thank you so much for coming. I know I've been calling you. You just came back this evening from Abuja, and you know you have to be here. Quite appreciated. Well, viewers, with that we bring an end to this special edition on the draft constitution, as earlier mentioned. I mean, the second reading will take place on the 27th of this month at the National Assembly, and then we're looking forward to seeing how interesting the debates will be as far as, I mean, the passing of this draft constitution for a referendum is concerned. From me and the entire production team, bye-bye and good night.
Thank you very much.